You want to be well informed, right? To really get the hang of important stuff, but, without drowning in all the technical jargon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, today's deep dive is exactly that. We're zeroing in on something really practical, especially if you deal with buildings here in Australia.
Getting ready for a fire safety audit.
Exactly. Think of this as your shortcut, your way to feel confident, not confused.
Yeah, precisely. We've done the legwork, gone through the guides, the standards, the regs.
All of that fun stuff.
All that fun stuff, yeah. To pull out the key bits you really need. Our mission. Simple, really. Make sense of what an audit actually involves for you. And, crucially, how you can approach it proactively. Feel informed, in control.
Okay, so where do we even start with this whole fire safety picture in Australia? What's the foundation?
It really begins with the National Construction Code, the NCC.
Used to be the BCA, right? Building Code of Australia.
That's the one, yeah. Think of it as the top-level benchmark. It sets out the minimum performance requirements for fire safety nationwide.
Performance, meaning?
Meaning how the building should perform in a fire. It covers things like the fire resistance of materials, how many fire exits you need, where they should be, the basic requirements for your fire safety systems, all that core stuff.
Got it. Sets the what. And I remember seeing something in our prep about deemed to satisfy provisions. What's that about?
Right. So the NCC sets the target, how the building needs to behave. The deemed to satisfy provisions, or DTS, they're like pre-approved solutions, recipes almost.
Okay.
So the NCC might say this wall needs to stop fire for 2 hours. A DTS provision would then tell you exactly how to build that wall to meet the requirement. Maybe specifying, certain concrete thickness or a type of fire-rated plasterboard.
Okay. So it's a way to comply without having to engineer a unique solution every time.
Exactly. And you need to remember, state regulations, like in New South Wales, they take these NCC requirements and bake them into their own laws.
Right. So the NCC is the what, and then we get more specific with Australian standards. Tell us about those.
Yeah, the Australian standards are where you find the real nitty-gritty, the technical details for how to comply. And for any building that's already up and running, AS 1851 is absolutely fundamental.
AS 1851, that's the maintenance one.
That's it. Routine service of fire protection systems and equipment. It's basically your rule book for keeping all those essential safety measures. We'll get into those working properly. AS 1851 tells you exactly what checks to do, how often, and what records you need to keep for everything from fire extinguishers to sprinkler systems.
So ignoring that one is not a good idea for an audit.
Not a good idea at all. It's practically asking for trouble.
And there was a date mentioned, February 13th, 2025, related to AS 1851 and New South Wales.
Yes, good pickup. That's when NSW is specifically aligning its regulations even more closely with the 2012 version, Amendment 1 of AS 1851. So from Fed 2025, the rules for servicing and maintenance in NSW get even tighter, tied directly to that national standard. It's about consistency.
Okay, so AS 1851 for keeping everything running. What other key Australian standards popped up in our sources?
Well, there are a few big ones. AS 2293 covers emergency lighting and exit signs.
Right.
It's incredibly detailed brightness levels, testing, installation, and that critical 90-minute battery backup requirement.
90 minutes.
Yep. And interestingly, our guide pointed out that problems with emergency lights and signs, they're a super common reason for failing an audit.
Makes sense. Power goes out, you need to see the way out.
Exactly. Then there's AS 1670 that deals with your fire detection and alarm systems and warning systems, control, intercoms, basically the brains of the operation for detecting a fire.
Design and installation.
Design, install, commissioning. And then AS 1851, as we said, handles the ongoing maintenance side.
Got it. Design right, then maintain right. What else?
AS 13745, that's all about planning for emergencies in buildings.
Emergency plans, evacuation diagrams, that sort of thing.
Yep, and crucially, it mandates fire warden training, regular training.
Oh, regular?
Every 6 months.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, because a plan's no good if people don't know what to do.
True. Any others stand out?
AS 2444. That one's for portable fire extinguishers and fire blankets. Selection and location. Common issues there, according to our sources. Having the wrong type of extinguisher for the risk.
Like water on an electrical fire?
Exactly. Or having them, but they're stuck behind a filing cabinet or something. Not accessible.
So not just having the gear, but the right gear in the right easily reachable spot and people knowing how to use it.
That's the essence of it.
And these standards, they demand pretty specific tests, don't they? More than just looking at something.
Oh, absolutely. Many of these standards require quite technical tests. You need proper equipment, proper knowledge. It's not just a quick visual check. That's why trying to do it on the cheap or with someone unqualified, it's a huge risk. You might think it's fine, but it might fail a technical test.
Right. Now let's zoom in on New South Wales specifically. Our deep dive highlighted some extra layers there. What do people need to know if their building is in NSW?
Okay, so NSW builds on that national framework with its own robust legislation. The main one is the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act, the EP&A Act and its regulations. They govern planning, building approvals, and they contain detailed fire safety rules specific to NSW.
Okay.
Then you've got the Environmental Planning and Assessment, Development, Certification, and Fire Safety Regulations 2021. Bit of a mouthful.
Huh. Yeah.
But that's the one that mandates the annual fire safety statement, the AFSS. Really important document. And it defines what counts as an essential fire safety measure, or EFSM, in NSW.
AFSS. We'll come back to that. And there are changes coming in NSW too.
Yes, another regulation, the Environmental Planning and Assessment Amendment, Fire Safety, NSW Regulation 2022. Those changes kick in from that same date, February 13, 2025.
And what do they involve generally?
Basically, more rigorous checks, more detailed documentation needed, and increased oversight from Fire and Rescue NSW. FR NSW.
Yeah, more accountability.
Definitely. Which leads us to the Fire and Rescue NSW Act itself.
What's their role defined in that?
It outlines their powers and functions, inspections, enforcement. They're the authority, ensuring the rules are followed on the ground in NSW.
Now, a term that kept cropping up for NSW was accredited practitioners. Fire safety. APFS. Who are they? Why are they so important?
Right, APFS. These are fire safety experts specifically accredited by the NSW government. For most commercial or retail buildings in NSW, you must have an APFS inspect and verify your fire safety measures.
Before you can issue that AFSS.
Exactly. They're the recognized professionals who assess if everything meets the standards and is working correctly. And their inspection has to be done within 3 months before the AFSS is issued.
3 months, okay.
So, yeah, their involvement is absolutely critical for proving compliance in NSW. It really underlines the state's focus on expert verification.
So it's clear compliance isn't a one-off, it's ongoing. And especially in NSW, with this ATFS requirement, you really need professional help.
That's it. It formalizes the need for specialized expertise. It's not just about knowing the rules. It's about having a qualified person formally check and sign off. Much higher level of assurance.
Okay, solid foundation laid. Regulations, standards, the NSW specifics. Let's get practical. What are these essential fire safety measures, ESMs or EFSMs in NSW, that building owners actually need to maintain?
Right. First step for any building owner, identify everything, every piece of fire safety equipment and system in your building.
How do you do that?
Ideally, it's listed on a document called the Fire Safety Schedule that should have been provided when the building was approved or built.
And if you don't have one?
Then job number 1 is getting a qualified fire safety consultant in to survey the building and create that schedule. Seriously, it's fundamental. Because the legal requirement is clear. You must maintain every single ESM identified on that schedule.
Regardless of building size or use.
Doesn't matter. Small shop, huge office tower. The obligation to maintain is there. These are life safety systems. They have to be ready.
Okay, so what are some common examples of these ESMs, the things people will definitely see?
Well, you've got your automatic fire detection and alarm systems. Smoke detectors, heat detectors, the alarm panel, sounders.
Early warning.
Crucial early warning. Good maintenance also helps prevent annoying false alarms. Then, automatic fire suppression systems. Sprinklers are the classic example, but also things like drenchers, designed to control or put out a fire automatically.
Right.
Portable fire extinguishers and fire blankets, also ESMs. Your first response tools for small fires. And like we said, right type, right place is key.
Got it.
Fire hose reels and fire hydrants. These give firefighters the water they need. Emergency lighting and exit signs, we mentioned AS 2293, absolutely vital for guiding people out safely, especially in a blackout.
And often missed in audits, you said.
Very often. That 90-minute battery test is critical, and signs need to be clear, unambiguous. Then there's passive fire protection. Fire doors, fire-rated walls, floors, ceilings. Seals around pipes and cables that go through firewalls.
Stuff that contains the fire.
Exactly. Compartmentation buys precious time for people to escape. And mechanical air handling systems. Some ventilation systems have smoke control modes to manage smoke movement, help clear escape routes.
That's quite a list already. And the sources mentioned even more possibilities.
Oh yeah, it can get quite detailed depending on the building. Things like emergency lifts, special warning systems like EWIS, emergency warning and intercommunication system, allows for specific voice instructions during an emergency. Fire control rooms, dampers and ducts, fire shutters, even things like ensuring fire truck access around the building, safety curtains in theaters, smoke alarms, heat alarms, smoke fronts, solid core doors, standby power for essential systems, warning signs. It's comprehensive.
Okay, so it's not just having these things. They need constant upkeep, and that maintenance follows specific rules.
Absolutely. The legal requirement is to service and maintain all identified ESMs according to the relevant Australian standards, AS 1851 being the main one for routine service, and also following the manufacturer's specific instructions for each piece of kit.
And who does this maintenance? Can anyone do it?
Definitely not. It must be done by competent persons.
Competent persons, meaning?
Generally, that means technicians who are properly qualified, trained, and often accredited for the specific type of system they're working on. They have the right tools, the right knowledge.
Which really underlines that this isn't a DIY job. The sheer number of ESMs, the different schedules in AS 1851, the technical tests needed?
Exactly. It's complex. The maintenance often involves way more than just a visual check. There are specific functional tests, measurements. That's why you engage professionals, competent persons, and in NSW, those APFS practitioners. It's a legal necessity, and yeah, there's a cost, but it reflects the expertise and the liability involved.
Okay, regulations, equipment, maintenance. Now the paperwork, documentation. Our sources really hammered this point. Why is it so vital for audits?
Yeah, look, meticulous records aren't just good practice. They are mandatory, a legal requirement. You have to give detailed records of all the maintenance, testing, any repairs done on your fire safety systems.
Where do you keep these?
Usually in a fire safety logbook. It can be a physical book, can be digital, but it must be kept on site and readily available. An auditor can ask for it. Fire and Rescue NSW can ask for it. Council inspectors.
And bad records are a big problem.
Huge. It's a very common, very significant reason for failing an audit. Think about it. Your systems could be physically perfect, but if you can't prove they've been maintained and tested through your records, you're likely non-compliant.
So the logbook is proof of life, almost.
In a way, yes. And it covers a lot. Portable gear, alarms, sprinklers, emergency lights, fire doors. Pretty much everything needs logging.
And in NSW, there's that other big document.
Right.
The AFSS.
The Annual Fire Safety Statement, yes.
Yeah.
Crucial in NSW.
Tell us more about that one. It sounds pretty formal.
It is. It's a legally binding declaration you, as the building owner, have to submit every year.
To who?
To your local council and to Fire and Rescue NSW. It formally certifies that all the essential fire safety measures have been inspected by an APFS.
Accredited practitioner. Fire safety.
Right. And that based on their assessment, those measures are capable of working properly. And remember that timing the APFS inspection has to be within 3 months before you issue the AFS.
Okay. What happens if you're late submitting it?
Penalties,
Okay.
fines, and they can add up weekly,
Huh?
so you don't want to be late.
No.
And the APFS has specific responsibilities for certain parts of the AFSS form relating to exits and paths of travel. They also have to keep their own detailed records of the inspection reports, test results, photos, maybe even time, and GPS stamps. It's quite rigorous.
Wow. Okay, so logbooks, AFSS, and NSW, what other records form part of a good audit trail?
You absolutely need your emergency plan.
Mm.
Legally required for all workplaces, remember? And it can't be generic. It has to be tailored to your specific work, the building, the hazards, the occupants. It needs to detail procedures, testing schedules, how you train your people.
Right.
Risk assessments are also key,
Right.
where you've identified potential fire hazards and vulnerabilities. And of course, detailed maintenance reports from your service providers for all the work done. They back up your logbook entries.
So it's a whole ecosystem of documents. What are the common traps people fall into with this paperwork?
Number one is failing to keep those logbooks meticulously. Accurate, complete, up to date.
Just letting it slide.
Yeah. Or in NSW, simply forgetting or neglecting to submit the AFSS on time. That's a big one. And relying on an old, dusty emergency plan that doesn't reflect how the workplace operates now.
It really drives home that documentation is the primary evidence auditors look at. It's how they judge your compliance day to day.
Exactly. It's the paper proxy for safety. The emphasis on detailed records shows just how critical they are.
All right, rules, gear, paperwork. Sorted. Let's get hands-on. What practical steps can someone take now to get ready for an audit?
Okay, good preparation is multifaceted, right? Physical checks, people training, and using experts. Start with being proactive internally. Do regular walkthroughs specifically looking for hazards. Risk assessment isn't a one-off thing.
How often?
Depends on the risk, but maybe quick daily checks on certain things. Weekly or monthly departmental checks. Make it routine. Using a comprehensive checklist based on your systems can really help guide these internal checks.
What about something like fire extinguishers? What's a good internal check?
For extinguishers, a good monthly check is it there? Is it visible? Is it unobstructed? Is it in its designated spot? Does it look obviously damaged?
Simple visual stuff.
Simple visual stuff for the internal check, yes. But, and this is crucial, remember that AS 1851 requires the technical tests by competent persons at specific intervals. Your visual check doesn't replace that.
Got it. So, find a hazard. What then?
If it's serious, fix it immediately. That's a legal duty, no question. Less serious things. Prioritize them, assign someone responsibility, set a deadline, follow up.
Okay, proactive checks. What about the physical space? Evacuation routes, exits. We touched on this, but what's key for audit prep?
Keeping escape routes clear is paramount. Auditors will check this. All routes, corridors, stairs, passageways must be completely free of any obstruction. No stored goods, no equipment, no vehicles, nothing.
Minimum width.
1 meter clear width, minimum. That includes overhead clearance too. And the final exit doors need to be clear for 2 meters outside the building, leading to a safe place like a road or open space.
2 meters outside, okay.
And make sure you're not blocking your neighbor's exits either.
Good point. What about the exit doors themselves?
They need to be easily openable from the inside without a key, single-handed downward or pushing action.
So lever handles or panic bars.
Exactly. No round knobs you have to grip and turn. Must remain unlocked whenever people are in the building. And fire exit doors should swing outwards in the direction of escape and be appropriately fire rated.
And signage.
Critical. Exit signs must be clearly visible, well lit, even in a power failure back to AS 2293, correctly showing the way out, indicating the floor level. And remember, things like braille and tactile signage have specific requirements too.
Plus evacuation diagrams.
Yep. Up-to-date maps on each floor, clearly showing exits, assembly points, and a "you are here" marker, displayed prominently in common areas.
Okay, clear paths, working doors, clear signs, and maps. Seems fundamental. What about the people side? Training, preparedness.
Just as vital. As we said, legal requirement for that comprehensive, tested, trained-on emergency plan, and the legal need for enough trained fire wardens.
What do wardens actually do?
Their role is broad, responding to alarms, running drills, helping anyone who needs assistance evacuating, identifying hazards, checking equipment, directing people, and potentially using extinguishers or hose reels if trained and safe.
And that training is every 6 months.
AS 3745 says warden training every 6 months. Yes, keeps them sharp. Regular fire drills are also non-negotiable. Test the systems, test the plan, familiarize people, practice getting to assembly points.
Beyond wardens, what about general staff awareness?
Everyone needs basic awareness. How to use an extinguisher if appropriate, evacuation procedures, how to report a hazard they see, and just promoting general fire safety sense around cooking, flammable storage, heaters, battery charging. Basic housekeeping, really.
Right. So physical checks, people prepared. What are those common non-compliance hotspots people should proactively tackle before an audit?
Okay, big one. Lack of real understanding of AS 1851. People think they're doing the maintenance, but they miss the specific technical tests required by competent persons. Visual checks alone aren't enough.
So really get to grips with it or get an expert who has.
Exactly. Incorrect extinguisher types or poor placement, easy to check, easy to fix. Problems with emergency and exit lights needs regular testing, especially those batteries. Failure to use competent persons for the mandated servicing. You need qualified techs. And again, incomplete or messy records. Get those logbooks in order. Meticulous is the word.
And it really loops back to engaging qualified professionals, doesn't it? Seems unavoidable for proper compliance.
It really is. You need competent persons for routine servicing under AS 1851. You need an APFS for the annual statement inspection and sign-off in NSW. You'll likely need a consultant if you don't have a fire safety schedule. You might need professional help dealing with FRNSW for complex issues.
And they give general guidance, too.
Good ones do. On compliance, risk assessment, making sure systems are truly fit for purpose, reliable. But the critical thing is verification. Make sure they are competent, make sure they hold the right accreditations like APFS and NSW. Don't just assume.
So it's about being proactive yourself, preparing your people, and bringing in the right verified experts. Sounds like the path to a smoother audit.
Definitely. It's about building that safety culture and being prepared, not just reacting when the auditor calls.
Okay, we've covered getting ready for the audit, but it doesn't end there, does it? What happens after the audit? What about sustaining compliance?
No, the audit is just a checkpoint, really, not the finish line. You'll get an audit report. It details the findings, concerns, any non-compliance issues found, and usually it includes recommendations for improvement.
So what do you do with that report?
You need to really understand it, interpret the findings meticulously, and then act promptly. Any serious hazards identified, fix them immediately. That's non-negotiable, legally and morally.
Right.
Less urgent items, prioritize them, assign responsibility, track them to make sure they get done, especially if they need time or resources. And crucially, communicate. Tell relevant staff, tell your health and safety reps about the findings and what you're doing about them.
So the report is an action plan, not just a scorecard.
Absolutely. And fire safety is dynamic. It needs continuous improvement, continuous adaptation.
What triggers a review of your fire safety measures?
Lots of things.
Yeah.
Major changes to the building, layout, structure, size,
Right.
big increase in staff numbers or visitors, changing how you use or store hazardous materials, bringing in significant new equipment, or removing old stuff. Any of these should trigger a review.
So compliance means ongoing maintenance, regular inspections, updating systems as needed.
That's it. And staying updated on the regulations themselves, like those NSW changes coming in Feb 2025, you need to adapt proactively to meet new requirements for checks and documentation.
It really does sound like it's about more than just passing an audit. It's a deeper commitment.
It really is. Look, the long-term value goes way beyond ticking a box. Good fire safety management genuinely minimizes fire risk, creates a safer place for everyone, protects you from huge potential losses, financial, legal, reputational.
And well-maintained systems probably work better and last longer.
Exactly. They're more reliable, lifespan extends. It's a sound investment. Ultimately, it ensures you meet your legal duties, protects lives, protects property. Compliance is a journey, not a destination. Requires constant monitoring, adapting, and a real safety culture.
So a single audit is just a snapshot.
Just a snapshot in time. Sustaining it means embedding safety in how you operate. Ongoing training, robust internal checks, leadership commitment, resources. Being proactive stops new hazards cropping up and keeps your existing measures effective. Continuous vigilance prevents things slipping back.
Okay, let's pull this all together. Preparing for a fire safety audit in Australia, it seems manageable with a systematic approach.
Definitely achievable.
You need to understand that layered framework, the NCC, those key Australian standards like AS 1851, plus any state specifics like an NSW. Know your essential fire safety measures, maintain them properly, and crucially, have the detailed documentation to prove it.
The paper trail is key.
Practical prep is vital, those internal checks, ensuring exits are always clear, staff are well-trained, and know the plan.
Absolutely.
And you really can't underestimate the need for qualified professionals, competent persons for maintenance, and especially those accredited practitioners, the APFS and NSW.
Non-negotiable in many cases.
So in the end, it's really more than just compliance, isn't it? It's an ongoing, proactive commitment, protects people, property, the business itself, leads to a genuinely safer environment.
That sums it up perfectly.
And on that note, here's something for you, our listener, to think about. Consider the fire safety systems and processes you have right now. Are they truly a living, breathing framework, constantly reviewed, updated? Or are they more like a static checklist you only look at when an audit looms? What's one immediate, concrete step you could take right after hearing this deep dive to shift towards that more proactive, ongoing commitment to safety? Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.